Guys, what's going on? Hope you guys are well. So guys, there's some news, big news actually. That Demetrius Andrade and David Benavidez are close to making a deal. This is a very good fight and a fight that look I'm very interested in. I think Andrade obviously at the end of his career. David Benavidez, you would say, is in the start of his, journey of fighting elite fighters. He last fight, he looked impressive against Caleb Plant. He wants that fight with Canelo, and I think the winner is a legitimate fight for Canelo, and I don't think Canelo can avoid the winner. And especially if David Benavidez, who would go into the fight as a favorite against against Andrade, just because of the fact that he's younger, his age, he's the naturally bigger man. He's looked impressive, and he just beat an elite fighter in Caleb Plant. Someone that a fight, basically Demetrius Andrade has never fought an elite fighter. So, and he's had a long career and he's never been in the ring with one. So he'll be in the ring with one if this fight gets over the line. I always felt this fight was going to be the fight that Demetrius Andrade was going to get, because I think David Benavidez doesn't really care about an Andrade fight. I think he'd fight Andrade. I know there was an initial talk that Benavidez was asking for crazy money, but he doesn't really strike me as a guy that would be avoiding anybody. I think and Benavidez comes across very confident and comes across as somebody that wouldn't really avoid anyone. So I think this makes a lot of sense. I think it's a good fight, and I think it's a fight that Demetrius Andrade is gonna find very tough actually, because I've initially said that I think Andrade could beat Benavidez. And probably, I still feel he has a chance. But I think after watching him against Caleb Plant, I give him less of a chance, because I don't think Andrade can really hurt Benavidez. And I think Benavidez would walk him down. And I think Benavidez is very fast. And I think if Benavidez starts consistently tagging Demetrius Andrade, I think eventually he'll wear Andrade down. Especially the older, aged, inactive Andrade. I don't really, and even I don't know, when did he last fight? Was that when he fought that guy? I forgot his name. When he fought that guy, and he struggled really, against that guy. I mean, he won every round, but he didn't look impressive against a journeyman really. And I think Andrade's best days are behind him, and I think David Benavidez is unfortunately going to win that fight. And initially I didn't ever say that, because I actually thought that Andrade was the better fighter. But Benavidez showed me something in that Caleb Plant fight. I thought Caleb Plant could beat Benavidez. I thought Caleb Plant could beat Benavidez on points, but he beat Caleb Plant, and he beat him well. And he battered Caleb Plant, towards the end of that fight. So I was really impressed. Really impressed with what's his name, Benavidez. So yeah, I think Benavidez wins. This fight. I think this fight has probably come a couple of years too late for Demetrius Andrade. I think any fight that he has against any top level fighter now is come a bit too late, because you cannot do what Andrade's done. And look, maybe not all of it's his own fault, but to go throughout his career and have the run that he's had, I just don't think it's been good enough. And I think he's suffered the I think he's gonna suffer the consequences as a result. Because I think I just don't think you can be inactive the way he's been. I just don't think you can navigate your career the way he has, and be successful when he finally steps up. I just think that he's too old now, too inactive, and again, a fighter that we never really found out how good he was, which is kind of disappointing, because I do think Andrade had talent. I do think Andrade was a good fighter, but I just don't think we ever got to see the best of him. And I know he was chasing the Canelo fight, but there was other fighters out there that he could have fought that weren't Canelo. So Canelo isn't the only guy out there. There was other fighters out there that he should have done all he could to pursue those fights, and maybe he did. But I think there's also, when you've not fought anybody or tried to fight as many guys as he has and not succeeded, you have to take blame for it as well. Your team has to take blame for it as well. You can't just blame everybody else, because all the other guys have got the big fights. Everyone else has got the big fights apart from Demetrius Andrade. So if this fight does get over the line, you know, thankfully we'd finally get to see Andrade in there with somebody that we would say is a top tier fighter, and he'd finally be in a big so-called fight. Unfortunately, I don't think it's the big fight he wanted to be in. And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have another big fight after that, because I don't think he's going to beat Benavidez. So unfortunately for Andrade, I do think if he fights Benavidez, his career will probably be... Because if he loses, that's it. That's him. That's him probably done, because I don't think anyone then is going to look to promote Andrade after that, because he'd lose his value. And that's why I think PBC probably look at it and think it's probably the right time to put Benavidez in there, because then Benavidez would have beaten Plant, he would have beaten Andrade. You can now start saying, wow, this guy's starting to build up an impressive resume. And then that leads up perfectly to the Canelo fight. So, yeah, leave your thoughts, guys. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to know your opinions. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.